meeting of the Port Angeles School District Board of Directors will come to order. Welcome everybody. Glad to see you. We have just come from executive session where no action was taken. Everyone's here except for Director Wright, and Sunny's not here?
She's not going to make it.
Okay. So, we begin all our meetings with the flag salute, if you would join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Jenny, do you know who has acknowledged one of the tribal lands?
Oh, anybody can read it.
Okay. Uh-oh.
All right.
Who would like to read it? Sarah, would you read?
I'd be happy to. Let me get it up here. All right. All the key holders, oh gosh. See here, it'd probably be me, and I'm the one who's being all sassy.
Yeah. There we go.
There we go.
Somebody made that.
All right. Join the meeting. Okay. I will do this. We acknowledge that we are on the indigenous lands of Coast Salish peoples who have reserved territory rights to this land, specifically the Clallam tribe. We thank these caretakers of this land who have lived and continue to live here since time immemorial.
Thank you, Director Messner. That brings us to agenda approval. Does the agenda look okay, everybody?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, could I hear someone move the consent agenda?
I'll move the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Could we go back and do the introduction to the meeting? I have Carmen read that section.
I am so
that's
sorry,
right.
Carmen. I forgot this is my first meeting as president this year, and I forgot you. Forgive me. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Long. Hello and good evening. My name is Carmen Geyer, and I would like to welcome you to the January 13th, 2022 Board of Directors Board meeting. This meeting is being presented in person and live streamed via YouTube. Please note that this meeting is open to the public and is recorded. You can listen to all past board meetings by visiting Board Docs through our district website. There will also be a portion of the meeting reserved for community comments. Agenda items will be addressed as listed in the agenda. For in-person community comments, please use the sign-up sheet located in the hallway to share your comments. When it is your turn to speak, your name will be called. Before making your comments, please state your name and address. You will have 3 minutes to speak. If you are viewing the meeting via YouTube and have submitted comments before the meeting, they will be read during the community comments time. In the future, if you have comments that you would like to share with the Board of Directors, please email Jenny Wilson, the Executive Assistant to the Superintendent, at jwilson@portangeloschools.org by 5 p.m. the night of the board meeting. If you have any concerns about individual district employees or specific complaints that require an administrative response, please contact the Office of the Superintendent directly. According to Washington Department of Health Order 20-03, face masks are required for everyone over 5 years of age while indoors. Thank you, and back to you, Director Long.
Thank you, Carmen. Forgive me for forgetting you. I won't let it happen again. Okay, which brings us to board correspondence. Jenny, do we have any?
All right, you have the Port Angeles School District Community Newsletter in front of you, and also many school board director gifts for recognition of School Board Director Month.
Tell you, we're very special people.
Did we do consent?
Yes.
We did?
We've done consent, yes.
Okay, I apologize. Okay, thank you.
You want to do it again?
No. I just want to make sure. Apologize. I want to make sure that we can pay the
Quite all
bills.
right.
Pay the bills.
That is quite all
That's
right.
right.
That is quite all right. All right, and now this is the fun part. We're going to get to awards, recognitions, and presentations. And tonight we'll be hearing from Principal Van de Wyk from Roosevelt, and one of our all-time favorite schools. They're all our favorite schools, by the way. So, Kim, take
Hi.
over.
Do I have to use the microphone or can I just be loud?
Can you do like another couple tests?
I will test all the way. Okay, we're good to go. And my team is also vocally enhanced as I am, so it'll be great. So I got the opportunity to share all kinds of fun things with you all about a month ago. And so as promised, I brought a representative team with me from our fabulous institution who's going to share many, many celebrations with you tonight. And so we're going to start off just, most of you know that our theme for the year has been all about space. And so we all have our mission control shirts for being part of our staff here. And we have our space theme that's carrying over into our appreciation of you and our presentation tonight. And so, so you'll kind of get a little taste of that as we're going through. It's just little pieces that we've been able to add throughout the year that can tie our whole year together. It hasn't been anything more than just fun little bits. And if you've been in our building, you've also seen that we have some really great decorations that kind of tie it all together for us too. So that's been really nice. So without further ado, I will launch into the next piece that will be brought to you by Brandon Howard, who is our director of 6th grade for the evening.
Great. Thank you. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm here to recognize 2 6th grade students for their awesomeness. Yes. Do you want them to come up or?
Yes,
They need to come up and stand with you.
Yes, please.
And I just have a few words from Caden's teacher, and you guys can stand if you want to just look at them.
Hi.
So we have Persephone Perry, she's in my class, and Caden Underwood in Kelly Sanders' 6th grade class. Caden, this is what his teacher said about him. Caden is an all-around great kid. He's a diligent student who is respectful to staff and peers alike. When given work time in class, Caden uses the time wisely, following directions and staying on task. He completes assignments on time and takes responsibility to complete absent work promptly due. Caden keeps an organized binder and desk and even completes math problems neatly. Caden is an easygoing, friendly, and fun personality that is enjoyed by all. When he's finished with an assignment, he'll often coach other students, helping to build their skills and confidence. He gets along with everyone because he's kind and treats people with respect. I appreciate Caden as a role model in our 6th grade classroom. He is sure to have success in school and life as a result of his positive attitude and character. So that's Caden. For you, sir. And Persephone Perry. I've had the pleasure of being Persephone's teacher for the 2nd time. I had her once in 4th grade and now again in 6th grade. You're welcome. She continues to be an exemplary example of a dedicated student and learner. She strives not just to do a good job, but to seek knowledge and understand, and is eager to learn about anything. Persephone has made it her mission to do her best work, and she received her first 4.0 GPA of her school career. I chose Persephone for Student of the Month not only because of grades, but because she has taken it upon herself to be a leader in the classroom. She often becomes like a second teacher. When classmates need help on an assignment, they often go to her. She's a voice of reason, a wealth of knowledge, and a calm and respectful presence in the classroom. Thank you for being a wonderful student and an even better person.
Well, we are very, very proud of you two, and generally what we do about this time is take pictures. So anyone who has anything to do with these 2 delightful young people gets to be in the picture. So that's family, that's teachers, that's school board directors, that's anybody that loves these children and came to see them tonight. So we're going to go out in the hall for a minute and we're going to take pictures.
You come too and Carmen's going to take your picture. Oh yeah.
When's she going back? When's she going back?
Sunday.
Oh,
My niece just got a COVID test yesterday. Yeah. I'm getting my Okay.
That doesn't sound right at all. That you were talking? I never considered status.
Okay. Now, let me say this to everybody. We're gonna finish your presentation, and when that's over, all parents and children can leave.
You can stay if you
You
want.
can stay if you'd like.
But-
We welcome you to stay, but if you don't feel bad after this presentation is over, but just come, if you so choose. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Jen.
Hi, we're back in action. So one of the really, really vital parts of what makes Roosevelt work so wonderfully is that we have a lot of different programming, and the only way that that programming works is if we have a lot of paraeducator support. So it only makes sense that we hear from Taffy Bond to represent what the amazing successes and celebrations that we can contribute, or we attribute, to our paraeducators. Come on up.
Okay.
She's super excited to be here.
I'm Kathy Bond. I'm one of the paraeducators at Roosevelt. There are 27 of us. A little bit about our team of paraeducators. We support students in many, many ways, from reading, math, communicating, learning how to communicate, social emotional learning, and the playground. We run small reading groups of 4 or 5 children. Some of us have even smaller groups than that. Depends on the level of need of these students. The reading groups target skills that each group of students is working on. For some, that may be just letter recognition, letter sounds, putting those sounds together and making words. And then some of it is working on figuring out what's the story about. Why did the author say that? Why did they say that in that particular way? So we work in classrooms, we work in the library, we work in the hallway, wherever we can find space to teach that's quiet. Yeah, that one's really hard to do sometimes.
I don't think so.
Paraeducators go into classrooms, or we pull out students for math support based on teacher input, tell us who to pull out. If a student has difficulties with a particular concept, a paraeducator helps them gain understanding and then apply that understanding to further lessons. We work one-on-one with the students to make sure that they're ready for the next step in math. Some of our paraeducators work with students with other needs. We help them learn to communicate, dress and feed themselves, and many other life skills. For some students, learning to communicate is learning how to speak the spoken language. How does the spoken language work? For others, it's learning to use a talker, which buttons to push to make yourself understood. Paraeducators teach some kids how to put a coat on and zip it up, how to take it off, how to hang it up in the locker, how to feed yourself. Some of these lessons need to be repeated many, many times. But man, the excitement when a student is successful is felt by everyone in the room, sometimes the whole school. A lot of our students have needs dealing with social and emotional aspects. They're learning how to deal with their feelings, other students, adults, and even just how to learn. That's hard sometimes. Some of our paraeducators help students with this in an almost unthinking way. It's natural for them to help the student calm themselves down and then proceed to talk about what happened. What can we do next time? What are ways of handling the situation? We also teach social and emotional skills to students that they can use if they find themselves in a rough situation. How to handle their feelings when they get mad or angry. The playground is a natural place to teach and learn SEL. How to play fair, how to be kind, how to respect yourself and others. We have one paraeducator who helps kids when they have problems in class or on the playground. Some kids call it detention. We call it ASAP. Awesome students, always progressing. The students spend time talking to the paraeducator and each other about how to solve problems, etc. Each student gets a chance to be heard and work on how to do things differently the next time. And that's the important part, they each get a chance to be heard, share their feelings. Most of all, the paraeducators are a team that helps teachers, each other, and the students.
Thank you.
And so with 27 paraeducators, we have about 20% of the entire district's paraeducation team, and we are super blessed because we feel like we are very collaborative, and every educator on our team is here to support our students. So it was really important to us that that portion of what makes Roosevelt special and celebrated was included tonight. The next thing that I want to talk about is my friend Kaylee McCaslin here. She is a second grade teacher, and she's going to come and tell us a little bit about second grade. And the reason why we chose that is because, as you are all aware, we've had many conversations. Second grade is an area that we need to be looking at. What are we going to do to make sure that they're successful moving forward? Because this little hiccup that we've experienced for the last couple of years is really affecting this grade level, and this grade level is very, very fortunate to have an amazingly loving, hardworking team that's making a huge difference for their success. So, Kaylee, tell us about second grade.
Okay, much like Taffy, I'm so nervous. So, we were both talking about it's so easy to talk to kids, and adults are a whole different ballgame. But I've always thought that second grade was like the sweet spot. They're the best grade ever, and it's really easy to see why. Look how wonderful they are. They have had a really hard time. They've never had a normal year of school before, and they've had trauma, and they come with learning disabilities, health impairments, home lives that are crazy, and they love school, and they're so hardworking. And it's super easy for all of us to match their enthusiasm of learning and school whenever they're like that. So I'm going to show you a few pictures of things that we've done. So we've got the balloons over Roosevelt that we did with 4th grade, and it was really fun, kind of like balloons over Broadway. And then we have another picture collage sort of thing here. The 50th day of school, so we're taking all of these opportunities to make connections with our kids. Like I said, when we have kids like this, it's so easy to match their enthusiasm for learning. So we pack our days full of reading, math, science, PE, music, art, SEL, and fun. We celebrate all the moments that we can, diving deeper into math and learning all of our letter sounds to make words, and of course making connections with each other, because the time that we spend together is so valuable, and now more than ever I see the importance of building relationships with the kids and their families, and it's just it's so good that we're back in school with them. And then, okay, is there one more? Let's see.
is like our student of the week. So they nominate each other for a reason. They have to decide why they're nominating, and then my class votes on who our Cougar Kid of the Month. And I've got these two signs. This one says I'm doing my Cougar best at Roosevelt Elementary, and then my learning is out of this world. And I drop the sign off at their house, and they get to keep it in their yard for a little while, and then I come pick it up and we pass it around throughout the class. So it's they, like, you can see this is at one of their houses, how excited he is. I just show up. I send the parents a message before, and they're just like, they can't even talk. They're so excited. And then the little girl over here, she's so shy, but it's really wonderful. So my very last thing is we have a lot of ground to make up. The huge impact of COVID and the lost learning, it's glaring in the eyes of the teachers across the district, and it's really frightening for all of us. But what I know is that when you walk into every program, every classroom, and every space across Roosevelt, you can feel the community that we've built, and it's going to be okay. Like, I know that it's going to be okay.
Well, we thank you. We know, we have heard reports from all the principals, all the administrators, the CSIPs.
Yeah.
And so we know what you're up against.
Yeah.
We understand. I was fortunate enough to be a second grade teacher.
It's the best,
And
isn't it?
Well, I thought that about all the grades. But I loved second. It's the first grade I ever taught. So
Yeah.
I loved second grade, and they're wonderful and enthusiastic, and you really can't help but match that.
Yeah, it's like, it's contagious.
They are precious. And we thank you for your work, and please send that thank you on to your team.
I will. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I was going to spare you having a lot of me, but now a couple of my teammates were not able to make it at the last minute this evening. You know, community things going on. So so it's going to be me from here to the end. You like that? So the next couple of slides were put together by our title reading interventionist, and she wanted to talk a little bit about the things that we're doing to kind of get after the reading pieces. One of the things that we're doing is we're just now launching into a art and science of teaching reading book study, and so we have about 25 of our staff members that are participating in this book study, and we are going through a couple of chapters each week and just really diving in, because as you are probably aware, a lot is changing in our understanding of how we can be super intentional about teaching reading in a way that matches the brain science. So we want to make sure that we're on the front edge of that. One thing that's really important for you all to understand is that any time that we have a book study and PD opportunities, we invite our entire staff to participate. So our art and science of teaching reading is about half with paraeducators and half with certified teachers, because we're all in it to make sure that our kids are making the gains that they need to make. Another thing, we have another picture of Persephone up here. You're just all over our little thing. One thing that Jen has launched this year is she's counting AR points, and so accelerated reader, they go in, they take comprehension quizzes, and then they can earn a certain number of points. And she's really good at all of this data. And let me see if she's got it on the next page. Okay, she does. So I'll go back. We are trying to read our way to Mars this year.
Wonderful.
And so if you calculate the closest that Mars and the Earth are ever together when they're in their different orbits, that is 33.9 million miles. And so far this year, based on the AR quizzes that our students have taken, they have read 23.6 million words. So we are 5/8 of the way to Mars based on reading our way to Mars. And so that's just a fun way that we're tying in this theme that we've got going, and really an excitement about reading. And so along with that, you're going to see that we started a little slow, but all of a sudden there's this big jump. And that's because she put together this point store that we now have through our library. And every time a class comes through the library for their weekly library time, they find out how many points they've earned that week. And Persephone, I'm going to put you on the spot because you're in the picture and you're just a lovely human. Explain why you're in this picture.
Well, I did a lot of like reading over summer, and I really liked this series of books, and I read all of them like so many times, but I just didn't take any AR tests on them. And I finally took all the AR tests on them because all my friends were getting like pencil things and stuff. And there was this really interesting book set of books that I've really been wanting, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take all the AR tests on the books that I read in the past. And I took the AR test on them, and I actually got a lot of points.
You did get a lot, but you don't have any? It was a lot. I don't have it in front of me. If Mrs. Reynolds was here, she would have the number.
I wanna know what books they were you read.
I read a lot of Harry Potter books.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Those are-
Good
I
on
think
ya.
it's like something around like 137.
137 AR points this year. And
Wow.
so, I mean, Jen Reynolds' store has, you know, pencils and stickers and little things, but Persephone had so many points that she got to get an entire new book set. So what is that?
It's called Amulet.
And everybody's loving the Amulet series. So how many books are in that set?
There are 7.
7.
Wow.
So it's lovely because for somebody like Persephone, this is very cyclical. She's reading great series, and then she gets another great series, and then she reads that. And so it's definitely been contagious in a good way. We like to just talk about the good contagious things these days. And so, and kids are just going in and cashing in their points every week, and it's been really, really fun to see how excited at all grade levels students are about their reading points. We also have been making sure that we've been intentional about training all of our staff that works with our students that need intervention. And so we're doing the LLI program, the Leveled Literacy Intervention Program, for students that are demonstrating that they're a year or more behind grade level in reading. So, you know, we're super data nerds. We're getting into all the different forms of data to make sure that we're really targeting instruction for these students. And then you'll see that we've got small groups going that are 3 or 4 students with a trained paraeducator. And Jen Reynolds is then moving around the space and making sure that everybody has what they need. And we've seen phenomenal growth from our students that are getting these interventions. And so this is our beginning of the year and mid-year F&P levels, because the LLI is connected to the F&P, so lots of acronyms for fun, and beginning of the year, not boys and moys. Beginning of the year and middle of the year. And so for our first graders at the beginning of the year this year, you'll see that and this is just the ones that were a year or more below in grade level at the beginning of there. So you'll see that more than half of the students that she was working with, or the team was working with, were at like beginning or mid-kindergarten level. And then, so you got level A, level B, level C. So these are all kindergarten levels that these students were coming in at the beginning of the year in first grade. And so now you've taken the same group of students, and now we're comparing to where they are now. And so that same group of students that was more than a year behind are quite a few of them, 14% have already exited, meaning that between the beginning of the year and now, they've made more than a year of growth. Level E and F is putting them like solidly at beginning of first grade level, so they're getting very, very close to catching up. And then we've moved the vast majority of the ones that were just at those beginning reading skills into more advanced reading skills. So, you know, we're seeing incredible growth by being very, very intentional in how we're giving our interventions for our students. We are closing gaps by doing the right work every day. All right, so now I'm switching into my Wendy Anderson hat. So Wendy has been a lifesaver for Roosevelt. I'm super thankful that I get to have a behavior intervention and instruction person because she is really focused on our SEL. And she wanted to make sure that we were not only talking about her role, but all the different things that we're doing to support social emotional learning at Roosevelt. So we just were able to add Catherine Hartman into our social emotional team. So we've got kind of what we're calling a triangulated approach. So Wendy is kind of our response person when we need to react. When something is going on, we need to make sure that a classroom is able to continue to have learning happen by giving support immediately. Catherine, what she's doing is she's doing proactive teaching of self-regulation skills. So Catherine is identifying students that when they're in a good learning space, will be able to come in and do 15 or 20 minutes to learn skills and tools of what are my triggers and what do I do to help when I'm feeling like I'm not going to be able to be in a learning zone, and how can I get myself back to where I can be a learner at school. And then of course we've got Amber Lynn, who is our counselor, and so our counselor, Miss Jaffray, she teaches whole class lessons. So it's like how to be a member of a team in a group, as well as doing individual counseling with our students. So we've got this three-pronged approach to meet various different needs, and all three of those people alongside with me, we're constantly meeting about students and how we can meet their needs. And then, of course, we're also super, super grateful that we have the support of Becca and Summer and Kelsey. And so we're super glad that then we have that wraparound piece, because we meet with them weekly in order to make sure that if we have families that need that additional support, they're able to do that. Oh, we have, Taffy brought it up a little bit when she was talking about our paraeducators and their roles. Kaylee brought it up, Brandon brought it up. We're all about relationships. And so that is the cornerstone to everything else that we do. It's the bedrock. And so we are about protecting those relationships, building those relationships, and making sure that students feel heard at school. Sarah was able to come and see a couple of the Character Strong lessons that were happening at school today. It's a wonderful opportunity to have a toolbox right there. And then the other thing that's great about Character Strong is that we get to have these monthly themes. And so with those monthly themes, we know that everybody's talking about the same things. I'm including it in my morning announcements. Classrooms are doing lessons on it. Amber Lynn's class lessons kind of go along with them. I include them in my parent communication. And then we're doing virtual assemblies. So every month we're picking our student of the month from each classroom that represents that trait. And then Lori Kramer, who was involved with all those music time episodes, so she's got a great skill set in that regard, is putting together virtual assemblies to honor the character trait through Character Strong for the month. Taffy also mentioned the Awesome Students Always Progressing opportunity that we have. So we don't like to call that detention. We like to call that, learning time, so that we can improve, so that next time we can make a different choice. And so we have that going on during some of our recess times, so that is something where students are every day getting an opportunity to do better the next day. And then we have our Cougar Code. So we are our 4 B's: be respectful, be responsible, be safe, and be a learner. And we talk about it all the time. And so if someone's having some sort of issue, we're making sure that we're addressing that through the 4 B's, so that, that there's always common language happening everywhere. This little picture up here is one of our students that is very, very proud that he has made a lot of growth in his own behavior every day, and we are really proud of him, and he has a lot of support, and every day is really putting a smile on my face to see him be so successful at school. And then I just died with the cuteness on one of the days right before our holiday. So those are 2 of our kindergarten students that are being responsible by returning the lunch card and doing that in a supportive way together. And so I just had to include that. All right, and then we have a lot of partnerships with community. We're so grateful that we can be back in action with PTO. So we're trying to get back to some of those routines that we've had going on for a long time. We've got our book fair that we got to bring back, so we did our in-person book fair at the same time that we had parent conferences, so that we could really get people and families get more books into student homes. We did a catalog sale so that we could continue to have support coming in for those PTO programs. Our PTO helps subsidize any classroom supplies and things. And then something that is a very, very beloved tradition at Roosevelt is our holiday shop. And so we had our holiday shop run by our PTO this year, and all of our students had an opportunity to go and shop for their family and friends. And some of our teachers really take it to the next level and have their holiday shop. They dress up their kids to go do it. So this is Molly Hibbler and Jeff Cobb. They run our TKs, so our little 4-year-old guys, and they all got to wear some really funky holiday glasses, and they were really excited about that. And then Jody Adams got them all holiday elves hats because they were being elves for their various family members. And then we also have some partnerships that we're super happy that we have that our community supports. For one, that was such a wonderful way to start our year where everybody got to have flowers. So thanks, Carmen, for all you did to kind of facilitate making sure that was going to work. We're really, really happy that we have volunteers that are coming back. Right now there's a little bit of a lull, but we know that they'll be coming back in and helping in a variety of ways in our classrooms. We did a food drive that we called the 12 Days of Giving. And so each day had a different thing. So, you know, one day's cereal, one day's canned vegetables. And we were able to bring in more than 5,000 items that came in, and then we distributed those. Not only were we able to then create food baskets that was about, it equaled about 2 weeks for a household of food. So we did 50 of those for our own families, distributed 50 of those, and with some community partners who also gave us some gift cards, we were able to make sure that our families did not have food insecurity over the break. And then not only that, but we had so much food that was brought in that when the fire department came in and did their Santa night at our school on the Friday night a week before break, we had so much that we were able to fill the entire fire department van. So we filled the whole van with food for our community at large, in addition to feeding 50 of our own families. And then the last thing is that many of our teachers have started to put together Amazon wish lists to do things like their libraries or their SEL materials and things like that. And pretty much every time a wish list goes out there, our community supports us so quickly that those wish lists are purchased within days, if not hours. And so we're just very, very fortunate that we have such great connections and relationships with our families and our community at large. I believe that is it. Those are just some more little fun pictures. I turned 50 this year. They went over the top and made it crazy. So there's that. And then we had a balloon arch created at the very, very beginning of the year. So on those community or those parent involvement days, every family came in and saw this gigantic space balloon arch, and they could take pictures with it as they were blasting into their new school year. I just need to shout out a little bit. Nurse Tasha has been phenomenal. She is running all day long. I think so far this week, she's already done, I think it's more than 125 COVID tests through our building, just with all the drives ups and the families, because I mean, she's just going, and she is such a resource, and we're so thankful for her. And then the week before the holiday, Herman and Lori every morning got on and sang a holiday song over our intercom. And it was fun because there's some video that I don't have, but you see kids in the hallway just like so excited, because it was like they were rock stars in there. Oh, they're singing, and it's on the intercom. It was amazing. So that is that. Questions for myself or this phenomenal team?
Lord?
No, I just thank you for having me out there today and getting to go into most of the classrooms. It was very exciting, like Old Home Week. I used to live there, so it was kind of, I mean, it felt like I lived there. So it was very nice. You guys were all very welcoming to me. So
we love having you guys come. So you're always welcome, and we don't even have to be formal about it. Anytime you show up, we'll take you to go see something great.
what did I tell you?
Yeah. We were just talking about our wonderful welcoming committees at each of the schools today. Thank you, Jen. This has just been a lovely presentation. I want to thank the staff that was here tonight and the parents, and particularly our 2 outstanding 6th grade students. We're very proud of you. So thank you again. You've given us a lot of your time lately, and we appreciate it.
Thank you for letting me brag on this amazing place that I get to call my home every day. It's a gift, and I don't take it lightly. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, if you all would like to go night-night, we would certainly excuse you from our meeting here, and we're going to start. We're down now in the agenda at 7.03, which is the Port Angeles Education Foundation, and we're so lucky to have the president of that foundation is here with us tonight. Ray, welcome. We're so glad to see you lost your audience.
Well, you are my audience.
Yes, there you go. We welcome you here tonight.
Thank you, thank you. There are some who may not know what the Port Angeles Education Foundation is about, so I'd like to start by reading our mission statement and our vision statement. So, our mission is in fostering support for students and programs by promoting creativity, innovation, and excellence in partnership with the Port Angeles School District. Our vision is that all students have full access, free of barriers, to reach their full potential. We want every child to have an equal opportunity to succeed in school and in life. No child should be restricted by an inability to acquire basic needs, which allow for active participation in classes and activities. So, the things that we've done so far, we have a few different programs, and I'll go through them briefly with just a brief overview of how we performed in the last year. The very first thing we do is we provide some SPICE grants. Now that's a fancy, it's actually an acronym for Supporting Projects of Innovation, Creativity, and Excellence. So in this last year, we awarded 27 grants for a total of $54,000 to provide opportunities for student success and enrichment. And currently, we are still taking some applications for new grants to reimburse teachers for supplies and materials that they provide out of their own funds. The second program is Student Needs, and this has been something that we've always done right from the inception of the Port Angeles Education Foundation. It fills needs identified by school staff for individual students, things like clothing, shoes, eye tests, eyeglasses, off-site counseling, things like that. The Albert Haller Foundation is actually one of the largest supporters of this part of our program. In addition, we've actually worked together and helped fund certain other programs that are run through the district. So, like the Back to School Supplies event, the AmeriCorps Tutor Program, the Wanda Fuka Foundation Kids Day programs, the Dolly Parton Imagination Library together with our local libraries, Clallam Transit bus passes for PA and Lincoln High School students, Caring for Kids Christmas Drive, as well as ASB cards for low-income freshmen. The third program is scholarships. This is probably one of the biggest things that we do. The Education Foundation is the largest provider of scholarships to Port Angeles students. In 2021, we awarded 41 scholarships for a total of $261,700. In addition, 11 students will receive continuing scholarships totaling an additional $70,000 for their sophomore, junior, and senior years. Since 2000, that's over the last 21 years, the Port Angeles Education Foundation has awarded more than $2.4 million to over 600 students graduating from school. We have a few new scholarships this year. The first is the Douglas and Julietta Welker Endowment, which offers a renewable scholarship for vocal tech students. We have the James and Dorothy Mowry Opportunity Fund Endowment, which awards 2 academic and 2 VOTEC renewable scholarships. And we have a Native Vision scholarships recognizing 3 Native American students. So those are new this year. And as of this morning, I can tell you that we'll have one more next year. The Academic Achievement Awards, that's the next category. So we have 8 Port Angeles High School students who will be honored next week for academic excellence. And we define excellence as a 3.5 GPA every semester for their first 3 years at the Port Angeles High School. And all of this while they've been taking at least 9 honors in advanced placement or University of Washington courses. So finally, I'd like to say thank you to for allowing all of the employees of the Port Angeles School District to make donations directly to the Education Foundation through a payroll deduction. We appreciate the support of those who are making monthly donations. We also want to recognize Zelby Gloria, who is a Port Angeles High School student who happens to be our very first student board member. And also thank you to all the liaisons to the Ed Foundation, including Dr. Long,
My pleasure.
Superintendent Bauer, and Jefferson Elementary Principal Rhonda Crum. So thank you again. Any questions for me?
I just have to comment on my relationship with your group. I have been so fortunate and honored to be the liaison for the last few years and have been reappointed to do that. This group has done such amazing things for our students through all the gifts and grants and scholarships. I am constantly amazed. And Sarah, we want to thank your parents for that. That's just a mighty wonderful thing that they have done to set up some scholarships, and I particularly like the part because there'll be some vocational ones too. And so Ray, I want to thank you for, on a personal basis, I've enjoyed being with this group and look forward to being with it again.
We're delighted
And
to
we
have
are,
you as well.
thank you. We are so thankful for what you do for our teachers and our children.
Happy to do it. Thank you.
We appreciate all your
Yeah,
work.
I want to add a little bit to that as well. So, and this will be repetitive for a lot of folks, but you know, this group really comes to the rescue of our students and our staff and our school and our community. You know, and that was really defined at a point in time when we needed support that you know, we didn't know where we were going to get that support at the beginning of last year. Last year was a difficult challenge for us around remote learning and virtual learning, and we know that that creates an equity issue. And you know, when the Education Foundation stepped up with a 6-figure donation at the beginning of the school year to support students learning in a virtual mode, really defined you know, the relationship, the outstanding relationship, the outstanding commitment by the team and the committees to really support and put the dollars where their vision is aligned. And so very, very appreciative. You know, that's the one moment in time that I will never forget, Ray. You know, just how quickly that evolved to a substantial donation. But that doesn't come to close to you know, meeting the annual and the ongoing difference that this group makes. You know, the millions of dollars that this group has put into the pockets of students and staff and supports, you know, for school supplies, scholarships to go to school, making a huge difference for our community. So for that, Ray, as the representative here tonight, please you know, relay my gratitude and thanks on behalf of the school district for this phenomenal group of people doing great work on behalf of the students and staff of Port Angeles.
That's certainly possible. Thank you for kind words.
Thank you so much, and thanks for coming to be with us
Sure.
tonight.
Absolutely.
I'll see you soon.
Yes.
All right, and that takes us down to 7.04, School Board Recognition Month. Look at all our presents and cards.
Luke's gonna read the proclamation.
Are you gonna read? Thank you, Luke.
I'm not sure my refrigerator's big enough for all my cards.
Okay. Whereas the mission of Washington State Public School System is to assure that all students achieve at high levels and possess the knowledge and skills to be responsible members of a democratic society who endure productive and satisfying lives, and whereas Washington's 295 locally elected school boards and 9 elected educational service district boards are the core of the public education governance system in our state, and whereas the districts and the regions that they lead and serve more than 1 million students, have a combined annual budget of over $15 billion and employ approximately 120,000 people, and whereas school directors play a crucial role in promoting students' learning and achievement by creating a vision, establishing policies and budgets, and setting clear standards of accountability for all involved, and whereas school directors are directly accountable to the residents in their districts and regions, serving as a vital link between members of the community and their schools. And whereas school directors and educational service districts provide a passionate voice for advocacy for public schools and the welfare of their school children. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize school directors as outstanding volunteers and champions for public education, now therefore, I, Jay Inslee, Governor of the State of Washington, do hereby proclaim January 2022 as School Board Recognition Month in Washington, and I encourage all people in our state to join me in this special observance. Signed this 15th day of December, 2021.
Thank you. Thank you, Liz.
That was great, thank you. So, wow. I would think that every day is School Board Appreciation Month. I am so appreciative of this school board. The work that we've had to do over the last 24 months has been nothing short of amazing and exhausting and energizing, and you name it, the emotion comes to mind. But this board has, on behalf of the students and the community, has always put the priority on the student and doing what's best for student in the most uncertain of times. And as a superintendent, speaking on behalf of the staff of our school system, I want to thank you for that. It's much appreciation for the amount of time that you spend doing, as it's called out in the proclamation. Really, it's volunteer work. I mean, I think there are some in our community that think these are paid positions, but they're not. They are positions that people volunteer to make their community better. And that's what you do. You're working on behalf of the community to make opportunities for our students to go on and do bigger and better things and great things throughout their life. So what you will see throughout the room is an appreciation from many of our schools for the job that you do. And these are the most important because a lot of this comes from our students. So here you can see this is from Dry Creek Elementary School. That will stay on our wall for you for some time here so that you can view it at your own discretion. Here we have appreciation from the Hamilton Hawks. So I don't know who gets to open this up, but somebody gets to open it up tonight. And then we have Roosevelt Elementary School here. Back here, I think we have transportation in Jefferson. So
That's the high school back there. Tanner brought that
high
earlier.
School, okay,
Yeah.
high school in Jefferson. So lots of appreciation for the work that you do. And I know that this school community and the people and the students of this system are appreciative of that. Speaking personally, I'm very appreciative of the work that you do and your commitment to doing right by this community and their students. So on behalf of the school system, we have provided you with a box of chocolates.
Oh boy, Sarah can't eat hers till tomorrow.
For this time of year, and a notebook
Yes.
that is
Oh my
personalized.
God.
I wrote a little note to each one of you, thanking you for the work that you do. And if you can't read it, please don't tell me that. One of those things is as you get more and more education, your writing gets worse and worse because you spend more time typing, I guess. I don't know. That's my excuse. I'm sticking to it. I don't think my third grade teacher would buy it. But I am very appreciative of your leadership. And I'm going to say this, and I say this over and over again, and I absolutely believe it. You know, a good quality school district starts at the very top, and that's the board. You know, I've worked in I don't know, it's either 6 or 7 school districts in my 34-year career, and I've worked in districts where we had a high-functioning board, and I've worked in districts where we did not. And if the school district does not have a high-functioning board, there's turmoil from the top to the bottom of that district. So, thank you very much for your commitment, for your willingness to be very diverse and have lots of opinions, but come together for the betterment of our students and our staff of this community. And you make my job so much easier to execute with your professionalism and your dedication to the job. So thank you very much, and I am biased, but I know we have the best board in the state of Washington. We have quite a collection of individuals that are here for kids, and that's all we ever ask. So thank you very much. I appreciate your commitment to our school system.
Thank you, Marty. Thank you, that is very kind, and we are a great group, and we're proud to be members of this school board.
Thank you, sir.
Oh my goodness, too many presents.
So much presents.
Thank you very much.
You're quite welcome, thank you very much.
And welcome aboard. Thank you for your commitment to our school system.
This is so sweet, thank you. And for everybody, thank you for being such a good staff. You make our job very simple and easy. Very curious.
I'm the grandmother of this group, so I get to take liberties. Oh my goodness. School board, you are a gem. From Hamilton Elementary School.
They are so precious.
So cute. What I love the most is reading all the unique names that all these kiddos have. Okay. That's all right. I won't.
Well, this is quite a treat, and we have cards from a lot of children, and after tonight's meeting, I'm gonna read them all and eat chocolate.
Yes. Don't touch mine.
Anyway.
I'm having mine for breakfast.
Thank you very much, everybody. We're glad to be here. Okay, that brings us to 8.0.
We're bringing the lights down.
Business and financial reports. Kira, thank you you have both those for us, so the floor is yours.
I do, thank you. Okay, so January enrollment. This was first week in January. It was exciting with the snow and
No.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, and our count day was very exciting, and poor Greg, who broke his arm, still managed to get count to me on time.
Wow.
So I'm impressed with the guy, really I am. Okay, so first slide here, we are up, everything's starting to stay really steady. We're up 2 overall, district-wide from 3476 to 3478. That's head count. And then next slide. Am I very quiet? Oh, of course, I'm sorry. I thought I was yelling. Thank you. Hello, is that on? Okay. Thanks, Jared. Okay, so here with FTE, we are up 2 as well, from 3,400 to 3,402. And next slide. Just looking at withdrawals, and this is the same pieces that we've looked at over the last few months. So really not a lot of movement. We're seeing the this, I think, families moving out of state, possibly looking for work elsewhere, and transferring out of Washington. That seems to be the biggest reason for students withdrawing. Within our own system, we saw about 20 students move from Seaview back to brick and mortar. So we had 9 Roosevelt students, 6 Dry Creek, 2 Hamilton, 3 Franklin, and 3 high school. So that was just kind of across the board that they moved back to brick and mortar. So that's not on the slide, but I wanted to share a little bit of that. Also, we had 2 high school students move over to Lincoln this last month too. So really, that's kind of that's what I wanted to share, the highlights of the enrollment report. Do you guys have any questions for me?
So you show that we lost 56 kids to SQUAM since June.
Yes, overall.
Do we show, so that's, what am I trying to say? So more than 56 didn't come to us. That's our overall withdrawal. Like, do you have a way to say how many kids came from SQUAM to PA?
I could look that up, yeah.
I'm just curious if they're winning the FTE award. That's not actually how I mean to say, but you know what I'm saying. I I would just be interested to see if people are fleeing us to go to swim or vice versa.
Yes, I will,
Just out of curiosity.
yeah, I'll look through for just the surrounding areas to all the districts and kind of see, if there's, or are you just curious about swim?
Well, swim seems to me, I mean, maybe Crescent, yeah, I guess all of them.
Okay. I
There's
can do
a
that.
lot of dropouts. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of dropouts. Are we finding that our dropouts are happening more with our seniors? Or is it through all high school grade levels? It's a lot of dropouts.
That's another great question. I'd have to look to see which grade levels, and then I can let you know.
It's fascinating information though. Thank you, Kira, for bringing that.
Of course, yes.
Can I ask a question about special education?
Uh-huh.
I was looking here, in the column that says head count,
Uh-huh.
and then the grade, tell me what TR1 is.
Resource one, oh, please,
Is that
ma'am. Yes,
resource?
thank you.
Pam,
That would
it's
be.
at the end, yeah, there's a slide, it's on my computer right in front of my face here. It's right before running start and right after, CVU.
There's a page number. No, there's no page.
It's right after
The
CVU,
end. Near the end.
near the end.
I have it here.
Okay, Jared?
Do you not have one?
We have to have one. That's why I'm here. Here's Jared. It's on order.
What? Soon.
She doesn't have anything though. Where's Cindy's?
Mary doesn't have, you don't have a computer. Oh, no. Oh.
So they're LRE codes, least restrictive environment codes, and this is how we're broken up now in how we report our count to the state, because it's our funding now is based on how much time a student who receives special education services is in general education.
Okay.
So the first column there, then the TR1 would be students in what they call the Tier 1 or LRE 1, the most time in special ed. In gen ed.
Okay, okay.
And then the next category down, and then the 3 to 5 is going to be our category for the 3 to 5-year-olds in developmental preschool.
Oh, okay. All right, 3 to 5 is the age.
Mm-hmm.
And then the middle one is the TR, other, I guess OTH stands for other.
Yeah, it would be the second tier.
That would be the kids that are mainly or not.
Mostly in special ed.
Mostly, okay.
More so than the first tier.
Gotcha, yeah.
Yeah,
I
without
see
getting
what
too deep into the weeds, is that how that goes? But overall, the main number to really look at is, that final cumulative number at the bottom, the totals, because that shows you that continual increase in comparison to our other count.
Well, I guess that got my, first of all, I didn't know what those indications were, but also the change in the total numbers. The 3 through 5, that's the 4-year-olds, right?
The 3 to 5-year-olds that we're serving, correct?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is not like the new kindergarten.
No, it's not the transitional kindergarten.
So we're talking about what's out at Dry Creek?
Our developmental preschool at Dry Creek and at Roosevelt.
And at Roosevelt?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's not one at Hamilton?
No, that's developmental kindergarten.
Okay.
And they're most probably in that tier other category, that middle category is what I would guess.
Do they all have IEPs, the 4-year-olds?
For transitional kindergarten, the TKs?
Yes, transitional kindergarten.
No, and actually I don't want to hijack your so when we first started TK a couple years ago, it was exclusively students in general education. We did not have much blending across programs, but Michelle did the bulk of the work. I found out about it. We did recently receive a preschool inclusion champion grant from OSPI, because this year was excitingly our first year that we started to have students with IEPs that would be typically in developmental preschool now joining our transitional kindergarten class, which has been
good.
Yeah, and so Michelle and I are going to continue that work with OSPI to
good, excellent. Well,
create
thank
those
you, Michelle,
opportunities.
also, and Pam for for pursuing that money.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
great. Okay, thank you. I didn't mean to get us off track, but when I read this earlier, I just didn't know what I was reading.
I never did karaoke, but maybe this is what it's like.
And now we'll have, no. Okay.
Thank you, Pam.
Thank
I
you.
could have given you like the, 100-degree version of that, but she's just so much better and has more information.
Are there any other questions from the board about this report? Okay, you want to step to the financial report?
Sure. So I have both November and December here tonight for you. We'll go through November first, or November, yeah. So here we have the fund balances for both general and capital projects. Ending you can see our year-to-date for November, our fund balance at 3.1. I wanted to remind you that in January, we will actually jump up in with our fund balance because January will kind of catch us up to where we are actuals from where we were with budget. So it's 165 over budget. So that's a total of in January we'll receive a total of 730,000 back to kind of catch us up from the beginning of the school year based on our average enrollment. And so for the whole year, that's a difference of about 1.5 million. So that's really gonna help. So you'll start seeing that in January, and that will definitely help fund balance kind of creep up there. So, or creep back to where it was. I'm sorry, back to where it was. So you can continue to see capital projects going up with our increase in levy collections. Really nothing different or exciting happening in ASB or transportation. They're just we have one bus that we purchased that I believe shows up in December, and so that was. And I think there's one more this year that Karen has procured, but we'll be done with that.
Do we have anyone to drive it?
Sometimes.
I'm teasing. I just worry about everybody having to do 2 jobs.
Yeah. Me too. Okay, so this is just our spending by program. We're at 24% of the year. There's really nothing new here. I talked a little bit about our Return to Learn last month, that new grant that we received, and you can see the spending starting in that. A series of new aides, health assistants, which are secretary level 1, which are out in the buildings, and those are also sub nurses and just additional help that's helping the buildings, helping with COVID testing and contact tracing and that kind of thing. So that grant has been a help just to supplement also our ESSER 2 and our ESSER 3. So moving into next slide, you can see the comparison between last year and this year for our materials, supplies, and operating costs. I wanted to share, I know that number is quite a bit bigger than last year. So within that 1.1 million is our half of our risk management insurance bill. So it was just under 650,000 this year, which is up from last year. But I broke it up into two payments this year instead of paying it all at once. So that's part of that. And the other big ticket item we had was we paid for the tents this year. So those are being delivered and put up, but we did pay for them in November. So, and then our next, just with benefits, this is just the increase in our salary and benefits from an additional people that we've hired to help get us through this year. So, any questions about November? Okay. Okay, so here just with fund balance, it fluctuates. It's up a little bit from where we saw last month in November, but again, that will continue then with that 730,000 will be up over the 4 million mark. We received the last bit of taxes I believe, for this round for capital projects, so that's up to 4.2 million. And that first payment that you see, that's the engineering payment, that 4,000, working with our group that's helping us with the Monroe Fields. So that's one of those payments that we're starting to make for our project. I'm excited to see. Just moving through the other funds, I think, you scroll down a little bit, Jenny. Yep, you can see that second bus that was purchased that I believe is probably out on the roads now. I think we got everything that we needed for that to happen. And like I said, we have one more smaller, I think, sped bus that is encumbered and she has on order for this year. And then here we're 32% expenditures from budget. And so, there's really no surprises or any changes in our program spending. So I think then moving into the next slide. Here there were a few, there's a little bit of a difference, and I looked into what those, just some of what those costs were over last year. We purchased a great deal of desks for our buildings, and actually Nolan ordered those last, I think, spring, and they finally came. So, so we're able to get some of that furniture and those desks out to the buildings. We ordered some new some technology for the classrooms to help with just helping teachers with overhead projectors and cameras and that kind of thing to help make their job a little easier. And also have started a new messaging system, and we paid for that software here for getting or text messages out to families, and so that's going to be Remind. Thank you. Yes, I even have Remind right there. You know all about it. But we paid for that, and that was part of that 200,000 over. And then that salary and benefits, you're gonna, that's probably a pretty close number that you're gonna see. That anywhere between 350 to 400,000 over what we spent last year. It might jump up a little bit more as we continue to hire. It will jump up a little bit more as we continue to hire the support in the buildings and our plan to use ESSER 3. So I will in January have a report with those, kind of that fund balance projection and the revenue projection, and then also with the new hires, I'll share what that looks like, just big picture for our ESSER 3 spending, and then just giving you as much information as I can, so that when we move into the budget season, you have a good feel for what that picture looks like. So, any questions about December or where we're at?
I think we're, Laura, are you okay? Okay. Thank you, Kira.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
For both your reports. I always appreciate your reports.
Thank you, ma'am.
Because I can read them.
Thank you.
I have received reports in my life that I couldn't read. So, thank you very much. And that takes us down to 9-point discussion and all our action items for tonight. 9.01 is our first one, approval of board committee assignments, and you all have a copy, there by you. Did everybody see the copy? Check it out before we vote on it, see if there are any changes or.
Okay, I just off the top of my head here, I believe I was on the secondary committee. I went to it today, I was invited to it, but this shows Katie and Jacob. And I can't remember, was that?
Well, you were on it before, but you didn't choose it for this time.
Oh, I didn't? Or did Katie must have wanted it and?
I was on it last year. I was
Okay.
supposed to be on it this year. I don't have my notes from that pull with me.
All right. Well, I went. It was great.
Oh wait, maybe what you have before.
So are you saying, Sarah, that you're not on that committee?
Well, I thought I was, but it doesn't show it here, so clearly I was not.
Here's what
But you did get
I got the
a
invite
notice?
and I went.
You got the invite because this hasn't been approved yet.
But Katie said she
Oh.
was on it last year too.
But we didn't.
She was the alternate.
Oh, there we go.
All right.
I don't
Okay.
remember any of that.
So
I
does
think it's
that-
different too.
Well, I went.
I mean,
so
look
it
under,
was fun.
look under your.
You can go next time.
Administration hasn't received this list yet because it hasn't been approved by the board yet.
All right. So I'm not on this. Well, I
Well,
enjoyed the meeting anyway.
I'm glad that you could go, and are there any other questions, about?
Oh, this is what we decided on. Just
Okay. Well, do I hear a motion to accept this, approve this document?
I move to approve the committee assignments.
I'll second. Oh.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes, Jenny. 9.02, approval of continuous school improvement plan, CSIPs, presented at the last two board work sessions. Do we have to do these one at a time?
No, you do not.
Okay.
I will move that we accept all of the CSIP.
Okay.
Second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept, the CSIPs. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Approval, 9.03, approval and signing of policy, 1010, operating principles for board and superintendent. Do I hear a?
Katie moves.
Katie moves?
Yep.
I'll second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? Okay, motion passes. Brings us to 9.04, approval of the second reading of policy 2195, academic acceleration for high school students to academic acceleration. What? Is that what it's supposed to say?
I'll move it.
But do we have the right title there?
Yeah, it's just a change of title. It's not an actual really change of,
Oh, I see what you're saying, okay. All in favor say aye?
oh wait, hang on, we didn't get a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. That brings us to 9.05, approval of the second reading, adoption of policy 4050, data sharing with local tribes. And this came out of our, meeting with the tribe?
No, this one did not. This came through the policy committee, I believe in December, but it has been vetted by Francis.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move.
And a second?
I second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so we've adopted that policy. That brings us to 9.06, approval of second reading or adoption of policy 2409, World Language Mastery Based Credit. And we discussed that last year. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move it.
Okay, second.
I'll second. That's Katie,
Any-
Director Marks, second.
Any, discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Approval of the second reading adoption of policy 3411, accommodating students with seizure disorders. Do I hear a motion?
Director Marks moves.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Did I hear everybody? Aye?
Yeah, you heard everybody.
Okay. That brings us to 9.08, approval of second reading of policy 3246, restraint, isolation, and other uses of reasonable force. Do I hear a motion?
Director Marks moves.
A second?
I will second.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And now we're down to 9.09, approval of the second reading, adoption of policy 5515, workforce secondary traumatic stress.
I will move this.
Okay, second?
I second.
Any discussion? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. Okay. And that brings us down to community comments on non-agenda items. Do we, nothing? We have no community comments, okay? So that brings us to our Board of Director comments, and let's start with our student, Luke, who's been very patient sitting there all night. And we welcome you back and Happy New Year.
You too. Alright, so, winter sports? Yeah, winter sports are going strong. So girls basketball, they lost to Squim by just a hair recently. They're playing North Kitsap this upcoming Monday. Boys basketball are currently 5-3 and they're 2-0 in the league. Their next game is versus Olympic. And then they just beat Highline 71-64. Wrestling, they just lost to Bremerton by 3 points, which Bremerton is #1 in the league. So they won Squim though by 44 points. So, and then they have a tournament in Bainbridge on this Saturday. Boys swimming right now, they might be done by now, but they have an away meet over in Bainbridge, and so far they're doing really well. NJROTC, we have lots of competitions coming up. We've got about one every 2 weeks. Our closest one is in Everett, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. The FBLA, we have our regional/winter conference coming up on the 5th. That's at PLU, so that's going to be our first one in well over a year, so that'll be super fun. There's about 16 people attending that. DECA is currently doing their regional conference. They're in the process of doing video presentations, filming those, and they have about, I think, 25 is what they said. Music, solo ensembles on the 29th, so that's band, orchestra, choir, and other instruments as well. So that's bound to be really, really good.
When is that, Luke?
The 29th.
January 29th?
Yeah, last Saturday in the month. Knowledgeable had a competition on the Thursday before break, and they got second overall, and were one of the smallest teams, so they did really well. And their next competition is on the 27th of this month. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff going on at the high school, and then other than that, the semester's coming at the 28th, so we're all sort of busy prepping for, studying up, getting finals week started and all that stuff. And then senior scholarship notebooks are due on February 6th, so a lot of us are getting stressing, wishing we wouldn't have procrastinated, but that's okay. We're gonna get it done. So, and then a couple other things. I was just curious from a student's perspective, talking to a lot of students, the snow days this past week, we get told at like 5:30 in the morning. So I was just wondering, is it common practice across districts to do that, or is it, done the night before or stuff, just to, either way, but just night before might be nice, just especially for families, getting up, trying to get ready and all that stuff.
Thank you, Luke. Marty, would you like to address the issue of, in the calls in the morning?
Calls in the morning? Yeah, so, you know, there are times, a call for a weather day is one of the more difficult things to do in the Pacific Northwest, and, you know, conditions change. You know, we have a team of individuals that, monitor weather, monitor road conditions, monitor like our campuses to determine if school can start on time, or a delay, or a cancellation. So what we do, Luke, is we do try to, if it's a no-brainer, we try to call it the night before. But if it's going to be in a position where there's potential to go to school, we'll wait until the morning of to assess the conditions. We understand, I understand. I ultimately make the final call. And my number one priority is every day to get students and staff into school safely. So time is always of the essence there. And so overnight, conditions could change. Even within 2 hours, conditions can change. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So, you know, it would be ideal to be able to call it the night before. I think of the 4 days we called last week, one was called the night before. Quite frankly, out of 4 days we did last week, that's probably the best we're going to do, because what ends up happening is if conditions change and we do something like a late start or a cancellation the day before, and they do change for the better, it's an impossible position to try to defend with the community around why we're not in school. And so, you know, anytime you make a weather call, you're going to make 50% of the people happy and 50% of the people angry. And so more time just gives you the ability to try to get it as close to right as possible. And looking at last week, I'm really, you know, happy that we only had one cancellation last week. I know we did something very abnormal on, I can't remember if it was Thursday. Seems like it was Thursday.
It was Thursday.
Where we added an additional hour, but if you notice like what happened with the weather pattern,
Yeah.
that additional hour made all the world of difference, and we could get in school and do it safely. So it's a crapshoot, to say the least. It's very, very difficult. Our team does the very best we can, trying to predict the weather, predict what the road conditions are going to be, and then most importantly, what the campus looks like when we get there. So, but the priority is trying to make the call as soon as possible. But I'm a little conservative that way. I like to wait as long as I can to make sure we're going to make the right decision. So that's the best I can do.
Thank you. Okay. Mary, would you like to go next?
Well, yes, I was, participated in the, what am I trying to say, in the policy committee this week.
How was
and
that?
That was interesting. It was very good. I mean, I enjoyed it. It was my first time to be involved in that process, and so yeah, I appreciated that. So I was hesitant. I didn't know what that would involve, but it was a good committee, well attended.
Good.
And then on Monday of this week, I did attend a character strong lesson. It's at Stevens, and the students were very engaged. I was impressed that they were as open. They worked in small teams, so it was a very interactive lesson. And I recognize that it will be different in every teacher's classroom, depending how they interact with students and how much involvement they ask. But during the whole time, students were constantly engaged in different activities. Looking at awareness was the topic that day. And I felt that it was beneficial to the students that were participating in particular because of the small team, small group interactions. And so with my first interaction with Character Strong in this setting, I was pleased with what students were asked to do and their ability to give feedback, talk to each other, and nobody shied away, and that's impressive to me in a middle school.
Yeah.
So.
How long did it last?
40 minutes.
40 minutes?
Mm-hmm.
And that's every day, or once a week, or?
I can't say that I know that.
For the middle school, they do 2 days of the character strong during advisory, and sometimes a challenge on the 3rd day.
Okay. So
Well,
that,
good, you're off to a fine new
yeah,
year.
yeah.
And we're so glad you're here,
Thank you.
really glad. Sarah?
Okay, so, a couple things, PACAC, has really winnowed down now to what, the group is gonna recommend to the board about the, new, fields at Monroe. It's, such a well-run group, and we talked about this, so we talked about the fields and what they're gonna look like, and then what else did we talk about at the meeting? What was the big thing we talked about?
The
Logo?
markings
No.
Logo?
The logo.
in the middle of the
RFQ for
field?
the middle school.
That's what we talked about, thank you, I knew it was the big thing, talking about giving the board, group, the sort of framework of how the board will go forward with getting a request for qualifications from the people what draw the building.
Architecture firm.
The architecture.
Thank you,
Architect.
I don't have any words today.
Yeah, well.
But, so, anyway, look for a lot coming at us from the PACAC. And Marty has been really clear with them that it's all, they are recommending, they are not telling us what to, we can change it if we decide we want to, but, with Sandy on there and I'm on there, I think, Marty has really laid out very good, parameters for that. And then I went to a meeting today that I didn't need to go to, but,
I'm
it
glad
was
you got
good,
to.
and this all comes together, because I went this morning to Roosevelt and sat in on 2 different, character strong things, and the children were super engaged, loved it, the teachers liked it, super engaged. Then I went to the secondary meeting today, and I got a completely different impression. And what I heard primarily was, for 7th grade and down, Character Strong is a very strong curriculum for those kids. Older than that, it's a kind of a crapshoot with who the teacher is, and, I guess who the students are, but it's not as well liked at the higher grade level. They feel like it's sort of, what was the word, not formulaic, but just, I'm not getting the right words tonight. Anyway, that it just felt like it's a, just a, we have to do this, and not worthwhile. So one of the
What
teachers.
grade was that? I'm sorry.
Pardon me?
What grade were the upper
They were,
grades?
the 10th, 11th, I
Okay.
think, and even 12th graders.
Was it the leadership advisory that you went to?
No, I didn't go to the high school at all. I only went to elementary, but this was a secondary committee meeting that I was at, and it came up that, for the middle school, the concern was often the kids are, when you see them for advisory, they're not kids that you have any, relationship with other than these relatively short advisory days. And so there was some talk about, can we incorporate the Character Strong into class so that the person already has a relationship with the students? Would that help? There was also talk of, would looping help, where you stay with the same advisory that you got in 7th grade, you'd stay with them through the 8th grade, so you had time to build a rapport. That's not my, those were just some ideas that came out, and some of the high school teachers thought they wanted to maybe go look what else might be available, because we all agree that social emotional learning is important. Is there something that would speak better to your high school group? Because I think we're all very clear that things aren't great socially and emotionally with anyone on this planet. And so, this was, that was some of that conversation around Character Strong. I think it's something that's worth us talking about. Anyway, so I also, got, information about testing things and the assessments, which I thought were very interesting. And Michelle, I think that it'd be awesome if the whole board had this paperwork, like when we have all the testing, when it has to be, I think it'd be interesting, particularly I thought of you, it'd be really interesting to see how many tests they have to do and when they're doing it, and we talked about curriculum, when it needs to be adopted, which I thought was also interesting, but it's really, everything is still not normal yet, so. But every teacher I've seen today, literally every teacher, and I've seen a lot of teachers today, is happy to be back in school,
Good.
is excited about what's happening in schools and opportunities that are happening in schools. I just felt really good. I mean, teachers were really, I mean, they're overworked, they're stressed. That's the narrative that we keep hearing, and it's not wrong. But when you get down on the individual level, teachers are happier having their kids in front of them than they were having them behind a computer screen. So,
I can understand that.
that's all I'm saying. Katie, I'm gonna give you this, because this is apparently your committee now. You can just keep it.
Okay.
It has my writing in it, but it's okay. It's the first meeting, there's only gonna be 2 more.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I talked too long, but that's,
No, that's fine.
that's where I am.
Good. Katie?
I'm gonna pass tonight.
Okay. Well, Katie and I have had our first agenda meeting together, which I thought went very well.
Yes.
And, we're looking forward to being your president and your vice president, and, it's gonna be a very good year. We've got a lot of work in front of us, but we've got a great superintendent, great staff. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Sometimes I feel guilty because I can't say thank you enough to every individual. So, please pass on to your colleagues and teachers that we're very, very grateful for what you do every week. I'm looking forward to PAEF. They really are a group that I tell you, they can raise money. I've never seen the likes of it. They are really good at what they do, and they've got the vision just down pat. They will do anything they can to help children in our school district. So I'm glad I'm going to get to work with them again. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, I want to make one comment about the mental health person who we looked at on Friday. Was that Friday? We Zoomed with?
Yeah.
And everybody, I think, was
Karamasa.
there. You didn't get to go? Well, it was great. And I was kind of getting nervous about it because that's my area, and I thought, I don't want to have to listen to this one more time. That shows you what kind of mood I was in, which hasn't been very good since I was snowed in all those many days. It seems like a year, but anyway, I really liked what she said. She was concise to the point. She made all the right suggestions. The only thing that, for me personally, was that nothing has changed in 30 years. I mean, I did my dissertation 30 years ago in that area, and there was nothing new there. I guess maybe a little bit of brain science has come in, but I had all that. So that was kind of, I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm just glad it was a thing because I think it was really important. It's good information. I hope that that the team leaders who were on that Zoom meeting will share that with their teams. Michelle, I guess you can be one to encourage that to happen, because I thought she really liked what she had to say. Thought it was well organized. It was easy for me to listen to. Okay, Marty.
Yeah.
Your turn.
Thank you. So I want to follow up on some of the mental health and also Character Strong, and just curriculum. So I understand that there's concern for and against. Just last month at our meeting, you heard Sunny indicate like she loves it, and then Luke is like, I don't care for it much. There's a wide range of opinions, and that falls to administrators, that falls to teachers, that falls to support staff. I want to caution us, around, anytime you implement, and this is new. It's a new curriculum for us. We tried to implement it last year in a virtual setting, and the key word there is try. And we did it for the right reasons, because we knew in the spring of 2020, we weren't meeting the social emotional needs of our kids when we had to close down and we were trying to scramble to come up with some virtual learning overnight, basically. So, you know, we went through a very shortened process to find what was out there that could support our learners and our staff around social emotional learning in last year's virtual setting. And quite frankly and honestly, and I'll be curious to hear what the secondary teachers have to come out with, but the top of the heap at that point in time, now I haven't looked at it for 12 months, but the top of the heap with regards to social emotional learning curriculums was Character Strong. And that's why we headed that direction. And if you look up and down the I-5 corridor, and you look up and down Kitsap County, and you look up and down, you know, any region of this district, I'm not going to make an educated guess, but it seems as though 9 out of every 10 schools, and that's, don't quote me on that, but it's the majority by far, are using Character Strong. Now some, like Bremerton School District, has been using it pre-COVID. And so when I talked to the superintendent of Bremerton, his report to me is Bremerton High School loves it. The kids love it. The staff loves it. So that gets me to thinking, well, so what are we missing here? Okay. I'm not here to debate, you know, or to indicate that, you know, I disagree with, you know, the feelings on both sides. I understand we have feelings on both sides. There are teachers that love it and teachers that don't like it. There are students that love it and students that don't like it. So a couple things come to mind. One, implementation dip. Anytime you implement a new curriculum, it's change and it's hard. So it's not atypical for a staff member to not love a new curriculum the first year you try to implement it. It's not atypical for a student to dislike it when it changes their schedule from previous years to be able to, you know, do homework in advisory rather than, you know, listen to a teacher teach a lesson on social emotional learning. I get it. And so we've got to continue. I caution all of us to, you know, pump the brakes just a little bit. And, you know, we need to have a logical way to assess what Character Strong means to us now and moving forward. I'm going to tell you right now, as the superintendent, I'm not going to advocate to say, it's not working, we're just giving it up. But there are things that we need to do to collect real data, to collect real feedback. I like the fact that today at the secondary meeting there was a conversation. I love the fact that the facilitator indicated, well, if it's not that, then what? If there are other curriculums out there, I'm wide open. Let's have a conversation. But I want to caution us around the fragile mental health of all of us, me included, and students included, and administrators and teachers and community members and parents. We are not in the same. We might think it, but we're all operating from and this came out in the presentation on Monday. We're all operating from a position that we're not used to in our own development as human beings. You know, the brains, you know, and I will try to paraphrase you the best I can, but the brain's #1 function is to keep us safe, right? And so with the COVID pandemic, we all have high anxiety, or most of us have high anxiety, and fear potentially, and anger, and all of those things, and that puts our mind in a different mindset around accepting new concepts, learning new feats, and we're on system overload. Okay? So I caution us to think that, you know, overnight, let's say, we can have a better solution. With how fragile we all are right now, and I'm talking me included, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but we're all in a very fragile state of mind. I caution us to pump the brakes and say, we don't need to do this anymore. Let's just go back to what we've always done. Because we know, I know, my own personal self and people around me and my kids, and kids, some of the students of our system, they need something. We are all struggling. And so I'm not here to say tonight that Character Strong, I'm not a salesman, I'm not a vendor for Character Strong, I'm not attached to it in any way, shape, or form, other than right now we're in the middle of it, okay? It's something that we need to continue to work with students, we need to continue to work with staff, we need to continue to work with the board, with our administrators. How can we not come in with, oh, well, we don't like it, just get rid of it, to how can we make it better? And how can we continue to feed this concept around delivery of this very different curriculum for Port Angeles School District, and do it in a way that folks have a tolerance for how we're doing it, okay? So I just want us to all have, I hope we all have, the same kind of plan moving forward. We need to, and I don't know, between, daily emergencies and COVID pandemic and case counts and staffing shortages, I'll be honest, like we just haven't had time to really do a full assessment on, what's working and what's not working. So we will get there. But with all of the emergencies we have going on right now, our system is on overload. Okay, we are doing everything we can day to day. There isn't a person in this school system that's not working very hard every day to keep our kids in school. Okay, and so a little bit of patience and tolerance and understanding at this point in time. We will get there. We'll have a better understanding of what this is or is not for our district moving forward. We just need time. And so that's what I'm going to ask you for this evening. But
this is not my job. It's not the job of this board to tell what we're going to teach like that. And that's your decision. I just feel like it's incumbent upon us to pass along what we're hearing.
Correct.
That's my only point here. It's just that you
Correct.
hear what everything 7th grade and down has been aces for this. So I'm just passing along what I've been being told.
Yeah. And
so.
Yeah, I get it. I understand.
And it's entirely possible that when these kids who've been doing Character Strong since the 4th grade get up to 11th grade, to them that's just normal, and by then that's what they do. And they'll be great with it at that point. Although I think at some point it would have to become redundant, wouldn't it, at some point? Like,
it's a comprehensive K-12 system.
Yeah.
but if you got it, I'm just thinking, this is neither here nor there.
If it's a comprehensive K-12 system, you should be able to navigate K through 12 and not have, you're gonna repeat concepts, but you're gonna go deeper and more broad in, certain concepts.
But and I do feel like once you've been in it for 5, 6, 7 years and that's what you do, that this is gonna become, I think these 3 years are gonna be kind of whack for these kids who've never had anything like this.
Exactly.
But by the time our 7th graders hit 9th grade, it will be normal for them.
That's my point around the implementation dip. It is challenging up front. I don't care if you do like math or ELA or reading or whatever, you're gonna have a dip and you're gonna have frustration and you're gonna have people that don't like it, students and staff. We'll have that next year with our new ELA curriculum.
Yep.
And that's after going through a 2-year process to determine the best ELA curriculum for K-6, and I guarantee next year you're going to hear from a handful of people that dislike the ELA curriculum. That's before we even selected it.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's where we're at. I understand as the superintendent, Michelle understands as the assistant superintendent, that not everybody is happy with this program. And assured, board and student rep, I hear you, we hear you. We want to try to work together to make it a better solution for our community, but I want to make sure that we have reasonable expectations. I will not, as the superintendent, unless I'm directed to do so by this board, but I will not, as a superintendent, say, it stops tomorrow.
That's not
I think that will be, because even if, let me just give you a hypothetical. Let's say 25%, and you know, I'm gonna make an educated guess, somewhere between 20 and 30% of the student population probably like it. That's just my educated guess. It might be low, might be high, but somewhere in that range. For the students, when I say they like it, they need it. It's not just liking, this is my lifeline. These are teaching me skills that I don't pick up in NJROTC. This is teaching me skills that I haven't been taught at home. This is giving me coping skills as I'm dealing with issues that I don't have adult supports elsewhere to navigate in a time where they need those skills. So even if it's only 2 out of every 10 students that need this, you will hear it from this superintendent to say, we can't lose that, because those 2 need it. The other 8 might say, hey, we get it from mom and dad, we get it from NJRTC, we get it from athletics, we get it from gymnastics, whatever it is. But those 2, even if it's only 2 out of 10, we still have a moral obligation as a school board, as a community, to meet the demands or the needs of those 2 students. So anyway, that's a long-winded, like, I want to tamper our expectations around, and I appreciate the board going out and observing lessons and, you know, hearing feedback and understanding. I appreciate, Luke, your feedback coming here. I hear you loud and clear. But I want to make sure that we go about this in a logical format and a logical plan, and an understanding that implementation dips are real, and also the COVID mindset is real. Like, we are all fragile, and I'm not saying any of you, but my tolerance for change is not very high right now. I'll just be honest. And so, and I'm pretty easygoing that way. So everybody around us has very little tolerance for any kind of new things, and that's just where we're at right now as a community, as a nation, and as a world. So rest assured, we're going to work on it. We're going to work with, you know, all populations to try to make it a better model for our school system. And if there's a better solution out there, my ears are wide open. I want to know what it is so that we can start working to potentially, you know, do something different in the future. So, with regards to, I'm taking way too long. You were doing so great on the meeting time, and now all of a sudden I start talking.
No blaming the president. No, we'll not be blaming.
So I crafted a letter that will be going home to families very soon. I was going to go home yesterday, but because of the catastrophic event that happened yesterday afternoon, I determined that that wasn't the time or place. I understand that there's a lot of growing concern around the Omicron variant as it's, you know, spreading across our community, and quite frankly, like, we have not communicated since we've come back from Christmas break around COVID planning, but the message is, it hasn't changed. We're going to school, like, and that's not just Marty Brewer saying that. That's Dr. Berry. Dr. Berry, as long as Dr. Berry, you know, the health officer for this region, and I've put so much stock and trust in her, and she hasn't guided this district wrong. As long as she says and indicates it's safe to continue to go to school, we're going to go to school. And you know, I don't know how many times I can say that over and over again before I start to frustrate people. But, you know, going back to our mindset and our mental health, we all need school. You know, there are teachers and staff and administrators that have fear and anxiety, just like all of, you know, everybody else does. There are students that have fear and anxiety. But the best thing for every one of us is to be in a normal routine, in a schedule, going to school. Now, with an asterisk, provided that that's safe. Okay? We will continue to go to school, provided that it's considered safe. And, you know, the WHO, that's interesting, WHO, CDC, Department of Health, media sources, everybody has their own opinion around, you know, what Omicron is, what it's not. We go to our go-to, Dr. Berry. She weighs through all of that stuff. And every Tuesday morning, I meet with her and we talk about, you know, COVID issues. So, you know, I am sending out it will likely go out tomorrow, communication to families, that outline. We understand COVID is running rampant in the community. We understand the case count is 2,000 per 100,000. But quite frankly and honestly, and we've demonstrated this from the beginning of the pandemic, the safest place for all of us is in our schools. Even during the Delta spike at the beginning of the year, and there were many people, I hear it, you hear it, we all hear it, too many cases in the community, we shouldn't be in school. We went to school. We went to school every day this year. And quite frankly, the concerns about the Delta variant being more transmittable, being more, you know, dangerous, you know, maybe working around the vaccination. None of that came to fruition in schools. None of it. We have our tracker on our website, and we clearly articulate how many positive cases we have on our website, both on a 2-week band and also a historical band, so you can look at that anytime. But, you know, when it came to, because we track all of our data, when it came to positive coming into our school and quarantining people around that, which was our old practice, quarantine people around that positive case, between 1% and 2% of those people that were quarantined because they had exposure to somebody in their classroom tested positive. 1% to 2%. So 98 to 99% of the time, there was no transmission. That's a safe environment when you're talking about a virus. Now, Omicron is new. It's more contagious. We understand that. But it's not been proven that our mitigation strategies don't work. We had so you heard about the Omicron wrestling event that happened pre-Christmas, right? Became state news. One of the biggest outbreaks in the state of Washington's history at that wrestling event that happened on the I-5 corridor. Last weekend we had a wrestling event right here at Port Angeles where we had 14 teams. So, you know, a little bit nervous, like Omicron, new. We had 14 teams here, over 450 athletes. But working with Dr. Berry, we implemented the mitigation strategies that were not recommended, they were mandated. And to include, you know, the Omicron variant is harder to detect, and it has a shorter gestation period. So you can test positive today or test negative this morning, and you know, by noon, by 8 o'clock, you know, the same day, you're infected and you're transmitting the disease. So Dr. Berry said anywhere from 8 to 12 hours after a negative test, you can be relatively certain that you're negative. So test in the morning, by 8 o'clock at night, you know, the same day, you've been pretty good, but thereafter it's invalid. So what we did when the wrestling teams came here, we made a mandatory morning test before anybody traveled to PA. Mandatory mask, mandatory physical distancing, no out-of-district spectators, limited spectators from Port Angeles. So we had a tournament like they had in Fife or wherever that was on the I-5 corridor, and they had mass spread. Well, that was last weekend, so with a gestation period of 1 to 3 days, we would know what happened with that tournament here last weekend. There's been 2 cases, you know, from that tournament with 450 participants.
Wow.
Those two cases, we know who they wrestled, we know when they wrestled, and you know, we've communicated to those teams, and quite frankly and honestly, the 2 cases that are out of, I'm not going to call out the school district, but the same school district, those 2 cases have not transmitted anything. So, Omicron we don't know enough about to say that, you know, our mitigation, you know, you can turn on the TV and you can listen to the media and you can hear that, you know, mask won't work, and you can hear that, you know, it's this, that, and everything in between. But we don't know that. And right now, we've been in school long enough after Christmas break to start seeing school-based transmission. We're not seeing it yet. We had a massive number of test positives last week. We have a good number of positive tests this week. But we're not making the connection to in-school transmission just yet. Will it happen? Probably so. It's a virus. We can't control every. But I'm going to say it again. The safest place for all of us to be is in our schools. You will not find a place where you're going to see more consistent mask wearing, where you're going to see more consistent physical distancing, where you're going to see more consistent HVAC systems.
Yeah.
All of our HVAC systems, even at the high school, being 99 years old, I'm joking, but close to.
It feels like that sometimes.
Yeah, and you hear the radiator running every day, right? I was in a classroom there a couple of days ago, Luke, and I was sitting by the radiator and I couldn't hear anything, you know. But you can't shut the radiator off because that's where we're at, you know.
Right.
But when we're doing that and we have our dampers open at 100% like we do everywhere, you're not going anywhere else in this community where you're going to refresh that amount of air in that given time.
I think that's huge.
You know, we're turning over 100% of the air in almost every one of our classrooms in this school district, anywhere from like 8 to 10 minutes. 100% of the air is out.
One more COVID question around that. We've limited back to the spectators, we've limited how many spectators can come into sports.
Yeah.
Which is great. Have we had any conversation, I don't know, the teacher asked me this, if we have had any conversation around maybe cutting down the amount of volunteers coming into schools for a little bit?
Not yet. I'm not interested in that yet until our mitigation strategies break down. We have safeguards for our volunteers. The volunteers have to be vaccinated, non-negotiable. If you're not vaccinated, you don't volunteer. You're going to wear a mask, you're going to physical distance, follow the same rules that every one of our school staff and our students follow. So again, I want to make decisions based on data, not on, oh my gosh, I'm fearful because it's 200 cases per 100,000 somewhere else or in the community. So this letter goes home to really outline, like, we are committed, not just Marty Brewer, this board, because I know where you sit, this board is committed to in-person learning. We are committed to that. We know short-term, mid-term, and long-term it's the best thing for all of us. So until it's demonstrated that we can't do it safely any longer, we're staying in school. There's 2 things that will close our school down, and that's what's outlined here, because everybody wants to know what's the metric. Metric is this. 1, our staff get impacted and we don't have the staffing necessary to carry out the work. You're seeing that start to happen. You're seeing that. I just noticed that South Kitsap closed down for 4 or 5 days because of staff shortages. If we get to the point where we cannot, you know, supervise, have teachers in classrooms, have administrators on campus, and you know, it cripples us to the point where we can't hire subs to do the work and piece it together, that will close our schools.
Would that be if just even one school ended up not being able to run that for a day, but all the other schools were operating?
If it's staffing related, it's likely to be greater than just one school, you know, likely. But I don't want to be pinned into a decision right now tonight, because there's a lot of factors to consider there, Sarah. But likely, if it's a staff shortage, it could be larger scale. Because staff shortage is staff shortage, and bus drivers and custodians and administrators. So insufficient staff to staff our schools, that would be what would close us. That's what you control, that's what I control. Okay? Second is directed by the Department of Health. If the Department of Health says, we are closing you down, we're closing down. And that would likely be classroom, grade, school. That would likely not be, if the high school needs to close down for a few days because we can't control the virus, there's no reason to, shut down Dry Creek if that same virus, activity is not there. And so if Dr. Berry were to give the recommendation to close a school down, it would likely be a classroom, a grade level, and or a school. But Dr. Berry is as committed as you are and as I am to keeping our kids in school and in-person learning, because it's the right thing to do for all of us right now with our mental health. So, if we were to close down, whether it be for staffing or for Dr. Berry, and I don't want to pin it on Dr. Berry, just call it the Department of Health, they would be very short in duration. Last year, where we got into a problem is if you remember last year in the fall, the high school students were screaming to get back into school. They had been out since, March 13th of 2020, and they didn't come back to school until January 28th of 2021, and then February 9th the next week. So, if we were to need to close because of those two situations, it'll be short in duration, and I call it out to be somewhere between 3 and 10 days. So it won't be, we're going to close and we'll, talk to you next month. It'd be very short in duration, and that's what you're kind of starting to see with schools that are having virus problems, and or most of the schools that you see closing across the state are around staffing. I haven't seen, and it's probably out there, but I haven't witnessed one that's closing just because of virus activity. It's primarily like staffing shortages. So if we were to need to close for a short period of time, it will be defined in somewhere between 3 to 10 days in length, and it will be very short, and then we'll be right back to school. And then I also call out the importance of masking indoors, staying home when you're sick or if you've been exposed, and testing right away if you have COVID-like symptoms. And we are giving away tests like candy in this district. We are constantly testing, and that's one of the mitigation strategies that we want to use to make sure we're keeping folks safe. So if a student or a staff member go to the office and they're demonstrating COVID-like symptoms, and they want to be tested and their parent approves, we test them. And we have enough tests to keep doing that. Because the most, according to Dr. Berry, the most important thing right now, because this virus is so transmittable, the most important piece is identify the virus and remove it. So who's the source and remove it. That's the most important thing. Quite frankly, the contact tracing that we spent hours and hours and hours doing in the fall did not work. Anytime you have 1 to 2% success rate, it's not working. So we're really working to stay aggressive, keep our test supplies up, and test anybody that's showing a COVID-like symptom. What we won't do is if you come in and you're asymptomatic, meaning you're not showing symptoms, we're not going to test you. Because it's real clear that if you just come in and say, well, there's so much virus activity in the community, I'm nervous about having the virus, but I feel fine, you're going to be negative. The way this virus is working is until you show symptoms, you're not going to test positive with at least the quick test that we use. So it's really important that we understand if we turn somebody away, it's only because you're not symptomatic and it's not even worthy of testing you. Now we do some of that. We do that for our athletes. We do that for for our unvaccinated staff. but it's not good practice, and it's not, you know, reinforced or not endorsed by Dr. Berry. She'll tell you, like, testing an asymptomatic person is a waste of a test, at least the quick test that we use. So, so that's where we're at. We'll communicate this again and again. It's almost like weather-related situations. This will make 50% of the people happy and 50% of the people upset. You know, it's either too restrictive or not restrictive enough. But I'm committed. This board is committed. At least they have been committed. This school community is committed. We're keeping kids in school until we can look in the mirror and say, you know what? We can't control this virus, or we can't put the right number of staff in front of our students. We're staying in school. I'm committed to that, because we know what we're dealing with right now with regards to the mental health of a lot of our staff and students is what we experienced last year. We lost a lot, and to go back into some form of isolation at this point in time will prolong the recovery of our school and our community. So, you know, we're committed together to maintaining that and continuing the good work of, you know, having our students in school every day. So, that being said, I've taken half your meeting tonight talking about what I wanted to talk to. I apologize, President Long. But that's what I have, but that will go up probably tomorrow night. It's about time and place after our emergency yesterday. I want to make sure I'm sensitive to that. So.
Okay, thank you. So now we have to talk about our next meeting.
Yes, our next meeting is scheduled. It's a big meeting for us. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 10th. And that will be right here in the Lincoln Center room. Regular meeting is at 7 p.m. We will have a 6 o'clock hearing for the sale of the CSB building. So 6 o'clock will be a hearing for the CSB building, 7 o'clock regular meeting. At the regular meeting, we'll talk about athletics and activities report, the APP, which is asset preservation program report from Nolan, custodial maintenance and facilities report from Nolan. You will be presented with the final plan for the Monroe Fields and your approval. That will then lead to that going out into the community for bids. So that's becoming very real. You will also be presented with a RFQ, as Sarah referenced, for hiring the architectural firm to start working with the school district to design Stevens Middle School. It is National School Counselors Week during February 7th through the 11th, so we will recognize our counselors at that meeting. And then the month of February is African American History Month, so we will have recognition of that.
Anything for the good of the board? We're now going to go back into executive session, and we will take about 30 minutes, maybe longer. Let's say an hour, and if
No,
45 minutes.
Let's do 30 minutes.
30 minutes, okay, with no action.
30 minutes, because I'm on the hook for making sure I deliver on my promises.
Okay, all right. So we're going to do that now.
Thank you.
I want to eat all the chocolate.